Just 5 months from now, the skies will be aglow with the light of fireworks as people celebrate Independence Day and Pioneer Day. But no one wants a repeat of last year when sparks from both fireworks and target shooting in the dry foothills started some huge brush fires. This year, expect some changes to be made to fireworks regulations by the same lawmaker whose bill 2 years ago allowed new high-flying fireworks in the state. After reigning in the time period during which fireworks can be legally set off in Utah, now he's proposing a bill that will give more authority to determine where fireworks would be too dangerous, and it won't just be limited to the mountains and foothills.
We're expanding the definition of where cities can ban fireworks to include agricultural land and land that, as it abuts or adjoins the urban or populated area.
His proposal will create a code that will supersede all other regulations on fireworks and give cities more latitude. A city or town council will be able to authorize a fireworks ban, but he says that shouldn't put a damper on anyone's holiday fun.
Unless it's banned in an area due to a high hazard, it will be allowed everywhere else. And so we're telling the cities and the towns, okay, if you have a high fire hazard area, go ahead and ban it there, but everywhere else it will be allowed.
It's a good compromise. It gives cities additional authority of when they can ban fireworks, and it would have to be during hazardous environmental conditions like the conditions we experienced this past summer.
Another issue lawmakers are discussing is privatization. For example, recreation centers owned and operated by cities or counties that may compete with those that are privately owned, or trash collection services run by the city versus operated by a private waste management company.
Obviously, local governments, at the request of their citizens, provide services, and some of those services are perceived to compete with the private sector. Having a rec center, sometimes the Gold's Gym gets a little offended that we're running recreation facilities that may compete with their facilities. So golf courses, as another, some of the country clubs or private golf courses don't like that we run golf courses. It's certainly something that cities need to study and look to see if there's ways in which we can gain efficiencies by privatizing certain things the government does. However, again, we think those are decisions that need to be made by the local elected officials in response to what their citizens are asking for.
Another bill might cause us all to evaluate our spending habits and our cash flow.
David Walker, former Comptroller of the United States, has said that the most serious threat that the United States faces is not some guy hiding in a cave in Afghanistan or Pakistan, but our own fiscal irresponsibility. And so a lot of people don't realize, here in the state of Utah, we do balance our budget, we do great things, but a lot of people don't know that 40% of the money we spend in the state of Utah is federal money, and the federal government borrows 40 cents on the dollar. So what we have is very unsustainable, and it's quite scary when you start looking at it.
State Senator Deidre Henderson wants to raise awareness about our current dependency on federal funds. She says it ought to be a red flag to cities and state government leaders that we need to become more self-sufficient.
It isn't about politics at all. It's just a math problem.
She's also trying to make it possible for cities and towns to keep more money in a rainy day fund.
So right now the state has capped the amount of general fund reserves that a city can have at 18%. And we're trying to just increase that a little bit to 25%. It's not an unreasonable request, but 18% is completely insufficient to be able to help cities smooth out those peaks and valleys that happen because of the volatility in their sales tax revenue.
And you may have noticed a few more holes in the road after our recent snow and cold temperatures. There is more talk about how cities and towns will find the funds to make much-needed repairs to neighborhood streets. Will it be a hike in the gas tax?
That is the question of the week. We've been meeting with House leadership primarily on this issue, and it appears that there is some appetite to look at potential gas tax increases. The way in which we raise the gas tax is still to be debated. There are some folks that are encouraged by possible indexing of the gas tax, which would be an automatic indexing for inflation every year. There are others who are not that supportive of that concept and would rather have just a straight gas tax increase. So we're working through those dynamics right now with legislative leadership. We should know and have a better answer next week as to whether or not there's some real viability there.
With your weekly legislative headlines, I'm Susan Wood for the Utah League of Cities and Towns.